Hi everybody, just logging on, getting everything set up right now. I am setting up for Pilates. My name is Kim, so I'll give you guys a couple minutes to log on, hopefully. It's so pretty outside, I'm not sure if anyone will show up for class today, but hopefully. I don't know, with my husband's computer where I am in the loft, I don't know if anyone's here unless you say anything, so it's a little bit like I'm talking to myself, but hopefully someone will show at some point and I won't feel so awkward. If there's anybody lurking that's not saying anything, just a couple things just to kind of fill some time. This is Pilates, so you don't need any equipment. You just need a mat or a beach towel. If you're on like a squishier surface, just be mindful of the spine with rolling. That's a little bit better than if it's like wood floors. It will probably hurt just a bit. So focus on maybe having something between you and the floor if that is the case. A great option if we are doing some kneeling, which I know we are today, is to grab like a small hand towel that you can roll up and always put under those pressure points. So it's a great choice for you. Class today. Hi, Velda. Thank you so much. Hi, Lisa. Okay, phew. I know I have three. So for class today, we are focused on the hips. Hips are typically a place where we hold a lot of stress. And with the days that we've been having lately, I know there's a lot of stress. A lot of sitting, and those hips get a little bit tighter and a little bit more uncomfortable. So our goal today is to really release the hips, release the stress, kind of bring a little bit more movement back to and just increasing the range of motion, increasing circulation, helping to support our spine a little bit more, and just hopefully relieving a little bit more of our stress. So lots of focus on turning out, waking up our piriformis, adductors, hips, buttocks, all that good stuff. So before we begin, just because I know there's a few folks here, just so you know, the lovely disclaimer, unfortunately, this is a virtual class, so we are unable to see each other. I know you can see me, but I can't see you. Sorry, the windows are open. It's going to be loud today, I think. So anyways, my biggest concern is that you don't listen to your body. I want you to listen to your body, to listen to my coaching, but do what feels right to your body. Don't push it too much. Take it easy. With the day and age that we're in, with the stressors that we're under, our bodies are a little bit different. We are holding stress differently. We're maybe a little bit more tight. We're not getting as much rest, maybe not eating as well. So things are changing within our bodies, and we may not be able to find the same range of motion or strength that we're typically used to. So just be mindful of those things as well, and just practice safely. One last thing. I just need to make sure you can actually see my mat. Okay, it looks good. Sorry. I have a little teeny tiny camera that I can see things on. I'm not going to be playing music, so if there's any specific music that you want to play in the background, feel free to do it. Hi, Mom and Dad! Gosh, that stinks. So any specific music that you want, feel free to play that. I hope you can see me okay. The sunlight is like insane today. So we are going to start kneeling. If you find that kneeling is too much on your knees, I want you to come to like that wide leg, almost like Wu Chi squat position, so the knees right over the ankles. We're focusing a lot on that turnout of the hips, especially with, waking them up. One more thing, because I know that the group that's here that I can see, I know are my Pilates folks, but just because some other folks might be watching and not saying anything or catching it on the replay, be mindful of your breath. We always start my classes with focusing on our breath. So as a cue to all of you, who I know what you're doing, but just a reminder, we want to focus on that umbrella breath. So we typically breathe normally in through, the nose and out through the mouth and all that stuff. That's what we want. And we often just find that breath within like the rib cage expanding and contracting. I want you to think of your body like an umbrella. I know I've kind of touched on it in the past. Think about expanding all the way around. So taking up space. So when you inhale, you breathe in and press out. So I want you to press out through the front, the sides, and through the back. That's the big part. So breathing outwards. So find just a couple of big breaths before we begin. Just let yourself kind of land. And if you're with me on the knees, just come down. If you're standing, just come with those wide knees. So we're going to take the knees nice and wide. Toes will start together. So I don't know if you can see that kind of queued up there. So toes are together, knees are wide, and you're already finding that turnout. So I want you to tuck the tailbone, squeeze the bum, and feel just the opening through the hips. So this is kind of our grounding today. This is where we'll come back to. Now focus just for a minute on the lower back. If you feel like you need to maybe walk the knees in a little bit so the back doesn't feel like it's already turned on and uncomfortable, that's fine. But I want you to focus before we begin on that strong footing, that strong foundation. So tucking the tailbone, finding the length through the spine, really opening up the hips, so pressing them forward just a bit and turning on the bum, so squeezing that tight. All right, I see someone else, but I can't see who you are, but hello. All right, knees are nice and wide. And then let the shoulders find that width as well. So taking up space between the shoulders, the hips, the knees. So big tracks here. Now find that breath that we talked about. Take a big breath in, breathe sideways. Breathe to the front of the back like an umbrella, opening up, and then let it go. So when you breathe out, pay attention to the rib cage. Don't let them shoot out. So you're dislodging that hip, the back, all that stuff. I want you to stay lined up, pulling the belly in tight, tucking it in like you're trying to get that tight pair of jeans on, and continue to breathe side to the side. There you go. All right, so finding and adding in a little bit of arm movement to that. We're gonna take the arms to the side of the body. Again, still dropping the shoulders from the ears. Take a big breath in, reaching towards the sky, and then let it softly land down beside the body. Take another big breath in, and land. On the next big breath, we'll reach tall, and then I want you to sink back. The tailbone is bending, so we're bending right from the waist, tipping forward here and shooting the tailbone over the heels. Good. So as we reach, we squeeze through the bum, and then as we exhale, we sit back, swinging the arms behind. Keep squeezing through the core, keeping it nice and tight. Finding that big, strong, steady breath. Big, strong swings here. So as you tip forward, I want you to think about bringing the chest closer to the floor. The bum comes above those heels. Try not to sit back and sit down, but float right over the heels. Big breaths in and out. Take one more here, and the next time when we reach the back of the room, I want you to keep the chest where it is. Take the arms, let them float overhead, and then circle down in the front. Good, big reach all the way to the sides. The chest continues to reach long in front. The tailbone continues to pull over the heels. Good, waking up those hips, the back, the bum, all that good stuff. Dropping the shoulders away from the ears. We'll take one more to the sky. And as arms pass through that chest height, stop here, so they're right at shoulder height. We're gonna take our right arm to start pulling back at the shoulder, the elbow, reaching, looking behind, and then press forward. Now switch sides, pull back, bracing the belly as you twist, and reach in front. Good, stay with this. So really waking up those obliques just a bit more. And as you keep that tension on the bum, the back, the spine, as you reach here, we're bending and extending. Good, stay with this. I see a couple comments, and it looks like heart emojis, so I'm assuming it's good stuff. If you find that you're having trouble hearing me or seeing me, please just flood the comments, and I'll know that something is up and I'll get up. Take one more here. Good, arms stay front. Now keeping this bend through the hips, reach through the chest. We'll take the arms back at the same time, pulling them behind, squeezing through the shoulder blades. Take the arms out to a nice wide T, circle in front. So like we're swimming, and press. So just a little bit waking up through the body, focusing on that big breath in and out. As the arms pull to the back, I want you to squeeze those shoulders in, squeeze those elbows. Waking up the spine and the shoulders. Nice big shoulder girdle there. Take one more like this. And then switch directions. Come to the outside, squeeze the elbows in, and press. I can't get over what a beautiful day it is. I'm in our loft and I can see the sky and I don't see any blue clouds. Any clouds. I only see blue sky. And I think tomorrow is gonna be in the 70s. It's crazy. Take one more here. Good, now we're gonna take the arms, come forward like we're coming to a cat and cow. So from the side, we'll curl the spine forward, and then I want you to sit tall here, squeezing through the bum as you come forward. Now again, circling through, reaching forward, and sitting tall. Now it might feel better to you to have that arm swing and come from this direction. Doesn't truly matter to me. I just want you to find that roll through the spine. Take one more, however you please. And then on the next one, we will touch down, finding our way to a tabletop position. So when you arrive, I want you to focus on those wide knees still. So we kind of typically find our knees stacked right underneath the hips, but I want you to take them wide. So they're reaching towards the edges of your mats here. And then I want you to take your hands right underneath the shoulder blades. So the hands are underneath the shoulders. The knees are nice and wide here. Sorry, my hair is falling out. We're falling apart today. Knees nice and wide. Now pull the belly into the spine and pull it, lifting it up into the spine, bracing the core here. Stretch long from the tailbone through the shoulders. All right, we are gonna shift our weight forward just a tiny bit so the chest comes above the hands. And then just bend at the elbows, reaching the elbows towards the back of the room, lifting up. So you're finding a push-up and you're hinging almost at the waist, the hips here, and trying to leave the tailbone as still as possible. Good. So avoiding that typical plank crunch that we see, we're bending more from the waist and really loading the arms here. Continuing to let the eye of the elbow just reach the opposite wall and press through the hands. Good, take one more. Holding here with the hands, take the heels together, tucking the toes underneath. Knees are still nice and wide here. I want you to lift up, coming to that bear crouch position, holding the knees right about 1 inch to 2 above the floor, and then touch down again. Good, bracing the belly, take a big breath in. On the exhale, lift up, hold here. Find that slow and steady umbrella breath, and touch down again. Good, on the next inhale, to prepare, on the exhale, lift up, hold here. Focus on those big breaths, taking up space. Good, letting it go. When you're ready, come up one more time, lift up, hold here. Good, and let go. On the next one, we'll lift up and hold and take our knees, pulling them in, letting the heels just lift and open out, and then roll back wide again. So if you're facing me, if it looks a little easier here, the knees are nice and wide, pulling in, stack, and then rotate out. Good, just keep going with that, just making sure. Hi guys, lots of new faces. So stay with that rotation. Staying with the knees nice and lifted, and opening and closing. Good, find that breath. Take 2 more. On the last one, let the knees touch down nice and wide. Untuck the toes here. So coming back to that tabletop position, the hands pressing right underneath the shoulders, knees nice and wide, the belly is braced, the spine stays tucked and long. All right, now taking your right hand, I want you to bring it out to a T. So reaching towards that side wall, right to shoulder height, and back to the floor. Taking the other hand, reaching it long. Good, and back. So you're finding a nice long line from the shoulder through the fingers, trying to reach only to that shoulder height as you lift and lower. Now the knees wide adds a little bit more excitement through the core, a little bit more challenge. If it doesn't quite feel right to you, just bring them back, stack them right underneath the hips. Taking one more like this, and then we're gonna add on. Good, taking the right hand this time, I want you to float it a little bit more to the sky, like you're peeking to the corner of the room, and circle down. So adding in just a little bit of spinal rotation, challenging that balance just a bit more. And hopefully you're already finding that the breath is starting to come a little bit quicker. Maybe the heart rate's up, that's what we want. We want to continue to build the heat from the inside and really strengthen every single layer within our body. So a lot of exercises get to that superficial layer. We want to keep going, building our strength, our heat from the inside out. So with those big breaths, hopefully you'll find a little bit more softness and relaxation. On the next one, we're going to continue reaching towards that corner, that sky, and then take the arm, threading it underneath. Ooh, don't get hung up on your hand. Reaching, and then touch down. So finding just that one more step, bringing the hand underneath the other arm, reaching through the chest, peeking to the opposite direction. Good, stay with that. as you're switching hands and touching down, try to keep as light as you can through the chest, so there's not too much shifting happening. Good, stay here for the last swing. Keeping the knees nice and wide, take the arms a little bit more in front and press back to your first child's pose. That shell stretch, arms nice and long in front. Taking the seat and try to pressing it back towards the feet. I want you, when you're ready, to keep the hands nice and long away. Start to tuck the toes under, so then we can find our way to a plank position. Now, with this plank, I want it to be a little different. So if you need to, if you haven't yet, take your toes and bring them out and bring the heels together so the inner thighs, the adductors are squeezing together. So when you're ready, we'll come back to that crouch position. Knees come nice and wide and press forward, squeezing through the inner thighs. Good. So the toes are out like you're in that first position, and you're coming to almost like a plie, and then squeezing through the inner thighs, coming forward. Now this time, as you come back, press through the hands, wake up the back body, and then squeeze the bum nice and tight to drop in. Good. Keeping the belly locked in and the spine nice and long. Taking one more here. Come nice and long, squeezing the inner thighs. We're gonna take the knees down, dropping down and lift up. So you're curling kind of off the toes on those big toes here, keeping the heels squeezing together and the toes pointing to the opposite. Good, stay with this lift and lower, being mindful of the lower back. Good, take two more. Last one. Now, the knees can stay up, or you can always touch down if you'd like. We're gonna take the right leg to begin, taking the heel or toe to the inner of the back of the knee, dragging down towards the ankle. So inside, drag down. So if you're on this plank position, you're gonna come up, drag down. So up, let that knee continue to pull away, drag down. Good, so stay with that. Two more. Last one. As you find that drag, really squeeze the inner thighs together. When you're ready, switch sides. Knee comes up, drags down. So continue to press through the opposite hand, really waking up the obliques. Take that knee, shoot it to the side. Two more. Good. Last one. All right, we're gonna come to the knees. Let them stay nice and wide. The ankles will cross to the sky. Perfect. Now take the hands together. Fingertips facing each other and thumbs facing. So it looks like a big diamond. So the hands will be like this, right underneath the chest. Knees are down, toes face the sky. Now the elbows will track towards the outside of the room and we'll come down with a press up. The difference here is we're finding a nice long line from the knees to the chest. If it is too much on the body today, you always have the option to shift and bend at the waist again like before, okay? Stay with this. Take three more. Two more. And last one. Take a minute, untuck the hands, untuck the knees, find your way back to that child's pose again. Take a minute to find that slow breath. Maybe stretching out the wrists if you need to. Finding a little bit more softness. All right, coming back to our tabletop position. The knees stay nice and wide, the toes stay together, okay? We're gonna begin by taking your back hand nice and long. So for me, it's my right hand. It's nice and long, and my left forearm will come to the ground. So I'm almost in this, like, this position, or this, okay? Now, the reason being is my left leg is going to come long. So I'm already a little bit lopsided, and you'll see with the right knee out and the foot in at that angle, it does want to make you fall over. So if this doesn't feel confident, if you don't feel steady, if you feel like you're going to get hurt, take the leg long, take it more parallel. All right, so with the foot over, knee nice and wide, and then adding in that other arm reaching, we're really kind of adding a little bit more challenge to our core here. Now take the bum up as much as you can, so it's a little bit higher than the chest. The chest will be dipping towards the floor. we're gonna take that leg that's nice and long and just lift and lower. Not worrying about any external rotation or anything like that. The leg stays nice and long from the hip socket. And the leg that's on the ground, the knee is the one that's at the diagonal. So really pulling the belly button in nice and tight, focusing on that breath. Take one more. The knee will bend in like it's coming almost underneath and then extend long. So squeezing through. Hopefully you're feeling this through the adductor of the other leg that's planted down. Maybe a little bit through the gluteus. Stretching. Find those big breaths. Take two more. Good, last one. Now this time, when we come down, we'll take the ankle to ankle. So the back leg will touch to the ankle, then extend. When you do this, I want you to turn the knee out. So this is our first externally rotated move here. And we'll be pointing out with our pinky toe. So coming in, tapping, and extending. I'm not sure how well you can see from this angle, I'm so sorry. So my legs are coming in, tapping here, and then extending back, pulling through the outside of the thigh. Good, so stay there. So as you reach, think about reaching to the outside of the mat with that knee. For me, it's my left knee. And then pointing with that pinky toe. Take two more. Last one. Leg stays nice and long. Tap with the big toe towards the back of the room. Circle over, and then tap with the big toe to the front, finding a nice big rainbow arch. Keeping that leg externally rotated, right from the hip. Beautiful job, stay with it. And one more to each direction. Good. Take that knee in, take a minute, and I want you to sit back into a child's pose. So as you stretch back, take the hands and reach them towards the back of the room, pressing through that front hip, the one that was moving quite a bit here. Feel a nice big stretch. All right, setting up for the other side. So take knees nice and wide, toes together. Do that to start. Now the front arm is the one that will come long. The back arm will cross. So you're laying on that forearm here. Try to stay out of the shoulders, reaching that arm nice and long. Now your back leg, for me it's my right this time, will stretch long. Perfect. All right, so leg is long, knee that's down, the toe will peek towards that back of the room, right? There's that diagonal there. And we're gonna begin by just raising and lowering. Letting the knee, the toes, everything be square to the floor. Think about elongating through the hip, really growing tall here. And not having like that starting and stopping point, that constant movement and length. Take one more. On the next one, take that knee, bending it in and stretch long. Now really brace the belly, the chest. See if you can lift off of the chest here, unloading the shoulders. Last one like this. Now bring that side tap and extend. So the arm is long, the knees both going to the outside. We'll tap at the ankles and then press through the external part of the foot, pressing through that pinky toe, rotating the knee toward the outside of the room. Good, staying here. Almost to the end of this section. You are doing amazing. On the next one, find that rainbow arch again, pointing to the back of the room, and arching to the front. As you do this, be very mindful of the spine. That lower back's getting a little bit more sore now. Try to stay tucked and lifted. Pressing through the bum. That stationary leg's really feeling it right now. And one more. Good. Knees nice and wide, toes together. Press back, finding your way to that child's pose again. Finding just a little bit more softness. And then if you'd like, walk the hands to the front of the room, pressing through the opposite hip. All right, we are going to come to a seated position. My mat feels like it's moving just a tiny bit, so I'm gonna try to move it back. And we're gonna prop. So two options here for you. You can prop onto the forearms, resting on the elbows, or you can always come to the hands. The hands will be a little bit more challenging for you, so it's truly what works for your body today. Biggest thing I want you to focus on is still opening up through the hips. So we're gonna have our feet together, or at least our heels. You can choose what feels right to you. Maybe having the toes out feels better, or maybe having the toes together. Doesn't truly matter, but I want those heels to be connected, and I want the knees nice and wide here. So we kind of give our belly some space, but we're also turning on the hips, opening up, finding that softness, and hopefully relieving a little bit more stress. So two choices when you prop. Remember, you can come to the elbows, or you can come to the hands. If the hands are down, I want them to be a little bit more wide along the mat, along the floor here. Wherever you land, focus on the spine. Roll the shoulder back, so if you're here, or if you're here, the shoulders will roll back and nice and wide. The chest is lifted. The belly's pulled in, so pull it in and up, okay, like you're trying to get on really tight pants. And the back spine is long. All right, if this feels right to you, wherever the arms land, I want you to start by lifting and lowering one leg, then the other, and then alternate coming down. Now switching, front leg comes up, back leg, down, and down. So as you're doing this, you're looking for hang time. You're not trying to find that quick movement. I want you to stay in the challenge, okay? If you find it's too much having the hands down, you always have the option to drop to the forearms, but pay attention to the spine. If you're finding that there's a shifting happening, perhaps you're taking the legs a little bit too high, or maybe you need to come back. You always have the option to come to a long spine on the floor. But that's kind of last resort. I want you to challenge that core just a bit more. Take one more to this side. And then we're gonna walk up both feet, heels together, toes together, knees nice and wide. Now we're in this butterfly position. I want you to switch opening and closing. So kind of rotating, rolling the ankles towards each other and away. Knees are almost to that like 90-degree angle. Taking one more here, let them stay open, and we'll start to drop towards the front of the room. Good. Now you'll see that the knees kind of close just a little bit more. Try to be mindful of letting them stay open. Let them shift to the back. Perfect. Now the chest should stay lifted here. Spine should stay nice and long. As you kind of roll, feeling just the massage through the lower back. The next time we land in the front, I want you to hold here, bracing the belly, keeping the spine nice and long. Just bring those knees open and closed. Rotating through the hips. Finding that breath. Staying out now, find little taps, little tiny double leg extensions here, keeping the knees open, the toes squeezing to each other. Take two more. Last one, bring those knees up, back to the middle, roll to the front, and the back of the room again. Keeping the knees nice and wide. Finding that breath. When you're ready, staying to the back of the room, tiny little squeezes in and out. I am sweating today. It is workout. Stay with that lift and lower. Knees stay nice and wide, finding those teeny little taps towards the floor. We are getting into our hips, feeling our strength hiding there. 2 more. Last one. Knees back to the midline. Tap those toes down, and then just take a minute, come forward, finding a butterfly stretch. Knees stay nice and wide, feet are together. And just find that softness. Hopefully you can already start to feel a little bit of that stress leaving the body. A little bit more softness as it comes and goes. One more big breath in. Good. Rolling back up to a seated position. We're going to take our feet so they're flexed towards the floor again. Knees stay nice and wide. Arms will come to the front. And we're going to begin by rolling down. So stacking through the spine. Start to roll each vertebrae down. 1 vertebrae at a time, starting at the lower back, reaching all the way through the tip of the head, letting the arms come overhead. Knees stay nice and wide. Heels together here. And then start to roll up 1 vertebrae at a time. If you need a little bit of support, grab the back of the legs, come up to that seated position. If you're pregnant, I only want you to come a little bit, stopping at this halfway point, and then coming back up. Finding that slow and steady breath wherever you land today. Beautiful work. Pressing through the heels, rolling down 1 vertebrae at a time. Tucking and rolling right back up to that long spine. Taking 1 more like this. And then roll your way up to a seated position. Now we're gonna again start to come back into that seated shape, that C shape of the spine, rolling off the tailbone, the sits bones here, bracing the belly, stopping about that halfway point. So the belly's turned on. The heels are fired into each other, toes can stay together or they can always stay apart. The knees are nice and wide. Now I want you to focus on the back of the legs, the hamstrings. Feel the heels as they pull in towards the bum, and then try to soften through the thighs. I know that sounds kind of impossible, but pull the heels to the bum, turning on the hamstrings, the back of the body, maybe even the buttocks, but let the thighs relax, okay? So see if you can find that just kind of tiny little movement here. Now, we have the hands as they reach in front, in between the knees. We're gonna bring the knees together and the hands nice and wide, and then rolling through, reaching back. So the chest should stay lifted, the back nice and still. So try to avoid that like pulsing back and forth. Just let the arms and the knees do the work here. Continue to squeeze those heels together. Good, feeling that opening. Wake up that lower belly. Remember the layers. We're getting all the way through, building our strength from the inside out today. Take 2 more. And our last one. We're gonna continue to press through the heels, rolling down 1 vertebrae at a time, reaching the arms overhead, and then come back up. Using that as our little break here. Coming back to a seated position. Now engage the core, come back, find that halfway position and hold here. Perfect. Now we're gonna take the arms back into that swimming position. So palms will rotate towards the floor, pull them down towards the chest, squeezing, reaching to the side in that nice big T, circling overhead. Remember, heels need to stay together, knees nice and wide. Toes have choices. They can be to the side, they can be to each other. Try to keep that chest, that spine nice and still here. If you find it's too much to reach so far to that T-zone, maybe it's a little bit more to the diagonal that you're coming today. So keep pulling back and reaching and growing. Last one like this. Reaching arms to the front, we'll scoop and roll all the way to the floor. Taking a big breath in. On the exhale, start to roll back up to that seated position, reaching through the spine, rolling all the way up. Finding that length, then dropping back, settling in, softening the shoulders away from the ears. We're gonna take our butterfly, our swim to the opposite direction. So reaching out to that T, elbows pull in and press forward. Focusing on that breath. Continuing to squeeze the heels together and towards the bum, turning on the back of the legs, releasing through the quadriceps. Good, stay with this swim. We'll take one more. Arms will reach to the front, and you know the drill. Roll down one vertebrae at a time. Reaching hands overhead, taking that big breath in, that moment of peace, and then come right back up. We have one more that we're going to do here. So coming back, finding that C shape of the spine, rolling the shoulder blades around the back. Palms will still face the floor. We'll pull one hand back, reaching the elbow towards the back of the mat, and then press forward. Coming to the other side, squeezing through, pressing the belly in nice and tall, and press away. So reaching, pulling, feeling that nice big twist. Staying with this. Big breaths in and out. Taking one more to each direction, please. And last one. And then on this next one, we will roll down and we're gonna stay. So arms will circle overhead and then let the elbows come nice and wide, the fingertips to the temples here. The knees will stay wide. And if you wanna walk the feet in a little bit closer, that's fine. We're gonna keep the knees wide, heels together. Toes have that choice if they wanna be together or a little bit apart. Fingertips come to the temples and chin will be tucked so spine stays nice and long. Now we're entering our back series, so I want you to brace the lower belly to support that lower back. So we're in that neutral spine, but maybe engaging your core just enough so it's starting to come a little bit closer towards the floor. That's what we want. So finding a little bit more flattening through that spine. We'll tuck the chin and just find that little tiny roll up through the head, neck, and shoulders, peeking towards the toes, holding here, bracing that core, and then lowering back down again, one vertebrae at a time. Now, as you lift and lower, I want you to pay attention to the ribs. Think about pulling them down towards the hips, and then as you roll back, keeping them engaged so they just tuck right in. You're not scooting out and finding that like thoracic lift here. So find that pull from the ribs all the way down towards the hips, bracing the belly so the spine is protected, and then lower back down, keeping those ribs engaged. Coming again, reaching up, lifting, holding here, and lowering back down. We'll take one more here, and we're actually gonna stay up in this lifted position. If you find this is too much on the spine though, the neck, the back, anything like that, just let yourself go, touching down with a nice long spine to the floor. If you feel okay here, we're gonna start by alternating, lifting up and lowering through our toes. Now, as you're finding this alternating toe tap, you're gonna be lifting up through the outside of the thighs here. So your adductors are turned on, the adductors lift to the sky. Think about those pinky toes as they tap. Good, so this is a really important time to brace that lower belly and press the lower back down to support this lifting and lowering through the hips. We're working on supporting our spine. On the next one, keep both knees nice and high. We're gonna pull the knees in just for a minute and give ourselves just a little hug here. Releasing through the back. We've done a lot of rolling back and forth. So we've released a lot of that lactic acid, which is great, but we want to make sure it doesn't just kind of hang out now. When you feel right, that head, neck, and shoulders can lift again or can stay nice and long. The knees are going to come back to that tabletop position so they stop over the hips and the toes are together, and then pull the knees nice and wide. So we're back to that diamond, that butterfly position. Perfect. Now, we want to come through with a single leg extension. So before we do anything, just kind of release and just watch what my legs do. I'm gonna take my front leg to start, reaching it nice and long, and then pull back. So just my front leg is extending here, back leg stays still, and the toes tap. The knees continue to reach to that side. Okay, so you're turning on, you have that external rotation, and you're reaching like through the toes, the big toe facing the sky though. Good. Now the head, neck, and shoulders can stay up or can lower down. If you'd like a little bit more, when the knee reaches in, I want you to cross the opposite shoulder towards the knee and then extend long. Continuing to find that length from the hip all the way through the toes. Taking 2 more. Last one. Now that leg that's been moving, I want you to touch it down nice and long on the mat. Now our top leg, our back leg will be the one that's working this time. We're going to tap down across the knee and extend, reaching to the corner. So a similar motion, but we have a little bit more support with that leg long to the mat here. Continuing to press that lower belly towards the floor, keeping the spine long. The chin can stay tucked or it can stay long on the mat. As you grow more tired, it might be a better choice. Adding in the cross if you'd like. With the tap, we'll extend and then long. Reaching shoulder to the knee and long. Good, finding that reach right through the toes. Taking 2 more. Last one. Good. Now finding that nice big stretch again. Let the neck go. Finding length through the spine. Maybe you're rotating through the hips. We're going to come to the 100 and then switch sides. So taking the knees to that tabletop position, feet are flexed. We're going to come from this tabletop to a frog press to that 45. So arms are long next to the body. Take a big breath in to prepare. Exhale to lift the spine, pumping the arms back and forth. Taking big breaths in and out here. Firing all the way from the arms, from the shoulders through the fingertips as they pump up and down. Now take the heels, press them away. Continuing to pump the arms, finding that 45 degrees, squeezing the inner thighs together, just like when we were in that plank position. Now pull the knees wide again, heels stay together. Stay pumping through the arms, staying here for another big breath. When you're ready, squeezing through the inner thighs, press away. Good. Stay with the pump, bring those knees nice back in. We're gonna do this one more time. Big breath in as you press away with the legs, squeezing, and pull them back in, stay pumping. Good, let it go. Take one more big squeeze. Knees come back to that tabletop position, nice and wide. We're gonna start this time with the back leg. Remember the head, neck, and shoulders can stay long or can be engaged with the core kind of turned on, shoulder blades nice and wide, rib cage reaching towards the hips. Now we're gonna be starting by taking that back leg, reaching it towards your corner and pulling back in. Just extending, opening up. My hips are definitely feeling it now. Not sure about you, but lots of strength is coming. Now choice to stay here with this or adding in that bend, that reach when the knee comes in. Staying in this lift and that lower. Last one. Good, let that leg come nice and long here. The top leg that's there will be the one that's moving now. So starting with that cross over the knee and then extending long. Good. So before you do anything, just focus on that length, rotating the hip externally and opening up the knee to the side. So finding that almost like kick that point through the toe, reaching from the knee. Now continue to grow the spine nice and long. And if you'd like to, you can add in that cross when the toe taps. Good. Reaching all the way out. Finding that slow and steady breath. Taking 3 more. 2 more. And last one. Beautiful job. We'll take the knees in, letting our heels stay together. We're almost to the end of this whole class here. So coming to a little bit of bridge work, I want the heels to stay together, toes pointing out just a little bit here. So almost in that V position. The knees continue to point to the opposite walls. We're gonna start with the arms nice and long next to the body and come to a bridge. So start to tuck the tailbone, taking a big breath in, finding the length through the spine. We're gonna raise up one vertebrae at a time, pressing through the shoulders here, squeezing the back body, and just waking up our hips just a little bit more, finding that stretch through the front. Taking a big breath in, I want you to slowly lower back down one vertebrae at a time. If you need to, you can walk the heels in or out if that feels better. Mine are a little bit further away than the traditional bridge. Taking another big breath in, start to roll up one vertebrae at a time, stopping in that nice big bridge, squeezing the bum, keeping everything turned on through the back body. Lower one vertebrae at a time. Good, finding this lift, this extension, kind of that softness through the spine. We'll take one more to the sky here, holding here. I want you to try to squeeze the heels together, lifting off and lowering down. So kind of like you're coming to a releve, kind of plie here. So lifting off onto just the toes and lifting the heels. Taking one more. Keeping the heels lifted, find tiny little pulses, squeezing through the back body, knees stay nice and wide. Keep that bum turned on. Releasing through the hips just a bit more. Two more. Last one. Heels touch down. We'll take the knees together, dropping the bum towards the floor. Try not to touch. Raise back up. Open up the hips. And then same thing, lowering down through the seat. Try not to touch. Squeeze up. Bring the knees back in. And the knees come back out. So continue to squeeze through the back body. A little bit more stretching, releasing. Tiny bit more strength here. Good, one more set. Knees will come together and we'll roll down one vertebrae at a time. Good, bring those knees in, find a nice big squeeze, rolling back and forth. We're gonna just roll a tiny bit, just to kind of have some fun before we end today. So we're gonna come to a seal pose. We're gonna rock up like a ball. But we want to add in the seal legs. So to get up front, before we do that, we're just going to squeeze the legs and just roll yourself up to that seated position. Now we're going to work on a little bit of hang time. So I want you to bring the feet together, knees wide. It's kind of the whole thing of the whole class today. Now take your hands and thread them underneath. So you're reaching to the ankles on the outsides here. Now shoulders are wide, and the elbows can kind of press to the knees if you want. And that kind of helps you when you shift yourself back to just open and close the legs, letting your arms do the work here. So you're tapping through the feet, okay? Now with seal pose, seals like to put on a little bit of a show. So we're gonna rock back, try to tap our feet 3 times, and then roll up, finding that hang time, and tap your feet 3 times again. So try to avoid rolling onto your neck. This is a little bit scary because I cannot see you. So if you don't feel comfortable, I want you to just hang and hold in this position and maybe just play with just tapping and seeing how that feels, okay? So it's really bracing the lower belly, tuck and roll back, stopping at the shoulder blades, and then rolling back to the front, okay? If you wanna add in that hang time tap, feel free. You roll back, tap for 3, roll up, tap for 3. Good. So just take some time, play with that tap, play with that roll, kind of play with just hanging on, having a little bit of fun. I told you, we're stress relieving today. And what else will relieve stress than just laughing at yourself as you roll around? We'll take one more here, rolling back. When you come up, try to find that hang time. One more challenge for today. Staying here, coming to that boat, maybe with a little bit wider knees, or taking the hands to the other side, holding up in that teaser wide knee. Hold here for 3, 2, and 1. Nice job. We're gonna find a little bit of a stretch. So I want you to sit back, finding that shell stretch, that butterfly pose to start though. So the feet will be together, knees nice and wide, and then bring the hands in front as far as you can that feels comfortable to you. Letting the head, the neck, the chest drop towards the feet. So we've done a lot of opening today. So you may find that the hips are a little bit more tender, a little bit more soft. That's okay. I just want you to be mindful of your movements today. So while you move around, maybe find a little bit more twisting or stretching through the lower back, because we've done a lot that will strengthen and help out that lower spine, but I want you to be mindful of that because it's a little bit more open and soft today. So let's finding a little bit of twist. Tuck one leg in. If you want, you can bring the foot to either side of the knee. Kind of give a little squeeze, waking up the outside of that thigh too. Good. When you're ready, switching sides, please. Taking another really big breath here. We're going to start to just come to that forward fold position. So kind of just unwrapping yourself, stacking the feet right underneath the hips. And I want you to press through the hamstrings. We did do some leg work. We did find some lengthening, but I really want to release that lower back. So maybe give yourself just a little bit of kind of a walk through the knees, or maybe a wag through the tail. Just see what feels right to you. Another great option is to just clasp opposite elbows and just wag through. But wherever you land, try to breathe into the lower back and find a softening through the outside of the hips. Take one more really big breath here. And then we'll release the hands and start to just roll up one vertebrae at a time. Awesome job. So we don't have a ton more time. It's always like hurry up and go. So take any other time that you need to stretch out. Another really great stretch I recommend is taking your feet up against a wall and just letting them kind of just drain, bringing the blood back to like the body, away from the feet and just back to the heart. And just take that time to close the eyes and just bring, the piece of focus back to you. Thank you guys for joining me today. I know it is beautiful outside, so it's probably the last thing you wanted to do was stay inside and do some Pilates, but maybe you even got outside to do it, which would have been cool. We are still going to be here for a couple more weeks. I don't know if you saw the most recent announcement from the governor, so please be mindful of what you need if you need anything from us, especially if you need anything from me, if you want to work out any specific body parts next week, or if you're finding that like you have a ton of tightness in the spine or the lower back or whatever it may be, just let me know. I'm kind of just going with what feels right to my body at this time, but I want to know what feels right to your body too. So if you're finding that you need a little bit more of something, please just let me know. Otherwise, can't wait to see you guys. We miss you so much. I hope you enjoy this beautiful weather. Take some time to get outside and enjoy it. Taking your shoes off, stand in the grass, just like ground yourself in the earth. It helps, I promise. Sounds like I'm an earthy, crunchy person, but I promise it works. Tomorrow, just so you guys know, we will have Strength and Balance at 10 with Beth, and then at 5 o'clock there's a new class with Sylvie. It is yin yoga, so it's a really great way to end the weekend and kind of get ready for the week that's coming. So please let me know if you guys need anything. I'm so happy I see so many of